What I am going to do today is show you the process which I'm doing for rebalancing the blades on the Koll Rotor Pro. I always want to say the Koll Rotor Pro. All right, so I got the balancer here. I got the rod, which is what is used to balance the first one. And so now I've got to go through and I've got to find the heaviest, which I believe was still number one. But I'm going to go through and weigh them all on my 3-beam. I also have this little one, but they're off by about 1/4 gram, I would say. And so I'm just going to be consistent and use the 3-beam. And I've got my weights going already. So this blade didn't have any tape on it at all. So I'm assuming that it's the heaviest, but I'm going to weigh them all and start from scratch. And here's blade number 1, and we're at 194.4. But these 3 beams are kind of goofy, so you just don't plop it on here. At least I don't. I'll go through and I'll bump it. I'll bump it up, and then I'll bump it down to make sure that this thing bounces back to the same spot every time. And here's blade number 2, and we're at 193.9. And this is interesting. This is blade number 3, which had a bunch of tape on it. And we're at 197. Yeah. See, that's why you start from scratch. Number 3 is now the heaviest blade. Another interesting blade, blade number 4, is heavier than blade number 1. 196.4. Another heavy blade. And blade number 5 turns out at 193. So that would be my lightest blade now. Interesting how over the time that shit changes. And just for shits and giggles, I threw it on my little electronic one. And this is blade number 1. And it comes in at 194.83. 194.83. So you see, they're all consistently a little bit heavier on the electronic scale than they are on that one. But I think they're all pretty consistently different on theirs. So number 3 is now the heaviest blade, which I thought was number 1 because it didn't have any tape on it. But over time, stuff has changed because I can't remember how long ago I actually balanced these blades. Long time ago. And so now we're going to bring everything up to this weight right here. And then they will be CG balanced and weight balanced all at the same time. It's just simple. I just got to do it all. All right, here's the theory of the Koll Rotor Pro the freaking balancer. What I did first, before I put the blades on and before I put this rod on underneath here, there's a rod that you bolt the blade to that goes into this slot right here and goes into another according slot. This will be my heaviest blade, and I am doing it upside down because that's where I'm going to be putting the tape. I'm going to be putting it long ways on the center line of the CG for chordwise, which is basically on the bolt all the way up to the front, theoretically. So what I've got to do now is, now that I have it attached to the thing, I can slide it back and forth. And since I balanced it all before, I got it all to balance with this little adjuster here. And right now, all I'm doing is I'm pulling this back and forth until I get it balanced on the bubble as close as I can. I think we're almost there. Just a hair. And I mean just a wiggly little hair. You know, one of them little wiggly hairs? Not yours, but hers. One of those. Okay. So theoretically, this blade is balanced on CG with the bubble. So now I can take and I can tighten down this little screw right here, which will keep that rod from moving whenever I go to change blades. I'll get some adjustments, and then what I'll do is I will take and get the weights that I need, because I got to cut all these weight differences from all the other blades to the number 3 blade, and cut that and tape and get it weighed. And then I'll put the tape on here, and wherever the tape goes to get it balanced and perfectly balanced on here, then it will be the same CG lengthwise as this blade is. Theoretically, yeah. All right. There's all my numbers. So I have to come up with that weight of tape, cutting this and weighing it, and that will be the spots. All right, I need 0.55. I've been cutting and doing all kinds of stuff, and what do I come up with? 0.53. So, yeah, that really kind of irks me, because, and you know, you can't have this stuff sticking to itself, and you can't have it sticking to the thing, so you got to kind of roll it up a little bit and get it off your finger. Oh, I'm so close! 0.54. I might just use that because I'm only one. No, I'm going to. No, I went back down to 0.53, so we're going to recut it. Oh, this is the time-consuming, tedious part of all this process, is cutting the tape. And that's 0.55 of a gram. This is 0.54 of a gram, which is literally one loop of tape. And I don't know what I'm going to do when I got to get 4.05 grams. I'm going to be rolled up all the way across here. That'll be interesting. Just looking at it, it was at 0.55, and now it's at 0.54. So, oh, now it's at 0.5. What the hell? I don't know what the fuck's going on. It's changing as it's going. You gotta get it off your finger. See, 0.55. See if it holds. We're gonna go with it. All right. So there is for that one. There is for that blade. So close. I gotta get 254, and I got 262. Just arbitrarily stretched off the piece and said, I wonder if this is gonna work. I'm close. Not freaking. I cut off too much. I need 2.54, and I cut off this little tiny bit off of that big old roll. All right. Ah, shit. Now it went down. It was 250. Oh, that's gone down. What the hell? Oh, damn it. 254. Now it's 252. I had 250. What in the hell? Why is it going down? I'm not liking this at all. Not liking it one bit. God damn it. That's the second wad of tape I've used up. Shit. All right. And there is all of our tape. And the funny thing was, is I thought that this went down to, well, it kind of does. It goes down to tenths of a gram, not hundredths of a gram, which is what this thing goes down to, 0.00. This is just 0.1. Now they got my compressor to stop running and interrupting me. We're going to go do number 4 blade, just because it has the least amount of tape. And interesting thing, I put the number 4 blade on here, and this sucker is just about dead nuts balanced as far as CG goes. So now I got to put the tape on here, and here is the CG balance point on here. I've got it marked like 5 different times just so I know that's where it is. So I'm going to put this tape on here and get that to maybe slightly that way. Slightly. No, it's actually going to go that way because it's actually the bubbles on that side. So, and I'm going to keep it in line with the bolt all the way down for cord-wise balance on there. And we'll see how this comes out. All right, got the tape on there. And it's just, I mean, there's center. So my tape is just a little bit that way. And that made the bubble come into line just perfect. And I know you guys have heard me say burnish. Burnish the tape down. You'll hear me say this. And what that means is I'm taking all the air bubbles out of it and you're going to take and you're going to work from the center out as much as you can. You're going to get all the air bubbles out, but then you're going to take either your fingernail or you take a hard plastic piece. What you can do is you can take and you can rub this down and you burnish the tape down, and that really gets a good contact with the blade surface and all that kind of good stuff. So I'm going to go do that. And I'm going in one direction. Put it down, slide. Lift it up, put it down, slide. All right, now I've loaded up blade number 1, and it has 2.54 grams of tape that I've got to put on here. Now, this one is not even close to being balanced. It is sitting on the table, and if I lift it up to balance, you watch how fast, thunk, and it literally bounces. So most of the tape is probably going to have to be on this side. Problem is, this hunk of 2.54 grams of tape is really long. So I was thinking, well, I could split the CG of cord and put an equal length of strip of tape on this side and an equal strip on that side. Or I could cut it in equal lengths and put it on there and stack them, which it's going to kind of suck. But, you know, this is a tough one to try to do. The only problem is in order to get it split down the middle, I'm going to have some hanging around this front edge. So I don't know what's worse, stacking it and having it stacked up out here, or having it unstacked and them side by side with some of it hanging back over here on the split directly on the cordwise CG. Interesting little thing we'll have to try out. This is a new trick, and I've never had to deal with it. It is not in balance yet at all. It is way off. I have the weight difference hanging off the base over here. So this blade is truly way off. And that's not even the heaviest one. This one is the heaviest one. 4 grams of difference between the two of them. So I am going to redo this and see what I've got going on here, because that should, I mean, if anything else, it should balance it at least. And it is not even close. All right, this is turning into a freaking disaster. So 2 is way off, and 5 is going to be way off. Now, just for shits and giggles, I put 3 back on here, the one I'm trying to balance all of those other ones to this one. Because it's a 5-blade system, you have to balance it to the heaviest blade. And it is balancing. You can see it right there. It's balanced. So I don't know. This is what I had to do to get, and it's still not balanced yet. The number 1 blade, extra weight over and above what it was supposed to be. The difference is way the hell out here. I'm not sure what the hell I'm going to do, because this is really off. This is throwing me for a freaking loop. Blade number 2 should have had 2.95 ounces, which is basically one of these little rolls there. And this is what I have to get up here to get it to balance. 3 times the weight, because the CG is so far up. I don't know how the hell this damn thing was even flying without vibrating to complete disaster. I don't get it. I had to do it on the number 1 blade too. There was so much tape, so much weight to get it to be balanced to that blade right there. I don't know what the hell's up. I don't get it, because I didn't have much tape on these ones. The heaviest blade, I had tape out here. It was only, 1 wrap. And this was the heaviest blade out of all of them, but the balance to get them statically done, like I've done before, you know, I had put a little bit out there, and I balanced them all to the number 1 blade. Yeah, I am freaking stumped. All right. God, this has turned into a freaking disaster. So there's my 5 blades. And this is the heaviest one by weight. This would be the next heaviest one by weight. And you can see there's where the tape was. And these two were obviously a pair in the set. I had to buy 3 sets of blades to make these up. This was back 16 years ago when we didn't have a whole bunch of stuff. It looks like I'm going to be buying new blades. In order to get the CG to match this blade needed all that tape put on there. This one needed all that. I mean, this is thick. Look at how much tape is on there. And then the lightest blade out of all of them, and I had to have rows upon rows. And I mean, there's probably a good 5 complete wraps on each one of these things. Now the lightest blade is almost 6 grams heavier than the heaviest blade. This is not going to work. I'm not even going to test fly it because I don't think that that is just way too far off. What I am going to do is I am going to stick this on a dynamic balancer and go off the heaviest blade and see where that falls. But I'm going to have to clean off my son's shitting bench, because that is my levelest of tables in here. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take all this tape off that I have on 3 of the blades. That turned out to be a disaster. And I have got my table set up so that it is as level as I can get it. All right, so I got all of this tape on here. That requires me taking it back off and starting from scratch. First, we gotta get the 15 fucking layers of black tape I had to use to get it balanced. That is not gonna work. I don't care what anybody says, that didn't work. So maybe for multi-blade stuff, I don't know, because I used the multi-blade on the Llama and it worked great. It was fine. I think, but those are a matched set of blades. These are not matched set of blades. So if you have a non-matched set of blades that you're trying to balance, you make sure that they're really close in weight. I mean, like within a gram of each other. That's what it takes. It has to be within a gram, because this is like maybe 2 grams of tape. So, or maybe you get heavier tape. I don't know. At this point, I'm just spitballing, trying to figure out how to get my blades to balance again. Yeah. 10 wraps. All right. First blades, 1 and 2, or maybe 1 and 2. I don't know. I can't see the numbers. Normally, I don't have this good of a static balancer, and I have to use a different type that doesn't have a very accurate bubble. But this one's a little more accurate. But just in case, I have pieces of wood out here that I made sure were, you saw, they're level from this point to that point, and I can measure the distance at the tips and make sure I have the same height, which means that they would be balanced because I went off that one. But I've also got this cool little bubble level on here, which is pretty damn accurate. And we're going to test that out, and I'm going to get it level with some tape on here and see what I can actually do with these things. And this is what I'm dealing with. There's the first issue. CG. Obviously, those two were a pair. These two were a pair. And this is another odd one out somewhere else. It's probably up there somewhere. So, I've got CGs that are way off. Yeah, you can see how far off the CG is compared to all the rest. So, yeah. All right, went through all the blades. And number 1 was the heaviest out of all of them except till number 5. Now, funny thing is, number 5 is the lightest blade by weight, but it is the heaviest blade by static balance. Yeah, this is turning into a freaking nightmare of how to get these all into weight and balance. But I've come to the conclusion they're so far off, I can't get them into weight balance and CG balance. It's just going to have to be on static balance. And when you're doing static balancing, it doesn't really help to have a giant heater blowing air all around your shit. All right, one blade down, second blade on here. And here's this is nothing but dilemmas. Dilemmas. So I was going by my little bubble on here. Well, look at it there. It's off to one side. Not level, right? Well, when I measure down from these two spots that I have taken my 6-foot level back here and made sure they were level. Fuck. Now I got them equal heights off of there, but this level is off. So what the hell do I trust? This is the big fucking dilemma, is I don't know what to trust. So I'm going with my bigger level, and we're going there. It could possibly be so close. I mean, I'm taking off this little tiny piece of tape that I have right here. That's how much I cut off so that the bubble on there is now in that position instead of being perfectly centered. That is what I get to get an equal number of millimeters from that end and an equal number of millimeters on this end. So this is just turning into one big freaking disaster after another. That damn thing's going to vibrate like hell. All right, there we go. So now they are statically balanced against the heaviest blade, which was number 5 now. After all of the measuring and shit that I went through in here, number 5 was the lightest of the blades in comparison on weight alone. So this is just pure black magic. And you can see all the little bit, I had to put a little tape on there, a little bit more on that one. You can see, and then this one was the heaviest. Or this one was the lightest that needed the most tape to balance them statically. This is all static balancing. And now we'll throw them back on here and see how bad it vibrates. Because we started out, the CGs weren't even close. So, yeah, we're going to test this out again. And you know, I'm not sure. This is going to be one of those things where if you have blades that are really out of whack because they're from 3 different sets, then static balancing might be the only way you can get it. If you have this and you have a 4 blade setup like I had on there, that one worked great. It was perfect. I don't think I needed much tape on these, if I can see up in here. Yeah, there's a little bit of tape on there. A little bit of tape on those. But it worked. It worked really good. So they were a lot closer together than what these 5 were. So I don't know if it's going to work. I don't know if it's going to vibrate. All we can do is test it. this is the way I've been doing it for a long time until I got this stinking little Koll Rotor Pro Balancer from Excel Helicopters. It did great on the Llama, and it did great on the little EC-145, little 500 size. And I wanted to try it on this because eventually I'm going to get it on that. But that's a 6-bladed head, and I could theoretically do it just as 2 blades a piece. You know? Shit, who knows? This one really blew my mind as to why there was all so much screwed up on it, but that's what we're going to go with. So, all right. So anyway, get out there and build something.